Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight on another episode of the SoFLo Sports Show. It's your host, 305 Sports Babe, co-host Lou from Dade. We are live from Miami on YouTube and X, so be sure to subscribe to the channel, like and subscribe.
Yep. Drop a comment. We love interacting with everybody in the chat, so definitely drop a comment and voice your opinions. Right now, we are still on a high from the Stanley Cup Championship parade and going back for that game 6, which was amazing. Just the city is still going nuts over what the Florida Panthers just did and still taking it all in back to back.
Yeah, it is. We're still riding this train. We're going to be riding it for a while. We're going to ride it pretty much all year round because this is not the first time we did it. This is the second time we're back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. And yes, even though hockey season's officially over, the draft's coming up, and some trades are going to be happening, we're still going to be riding this train as long as possible. Last night was the NBA draft first round. Heat had the 20th pick, in which we will talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
You're in the heart of baseball season. We watched some Inter Miami soccer this past week, some big crucial games. And it's never a dull moment in South Florida sports.
Never. But again, we are still relishing in this tremendous accomplishment by the Florida Panthers. And we are, definitely taking this all in and just having the time of our lives, right? We went from Game 6 at the arena to the Elbow Room the next day to Club 11 the day after, and just you cannot take this for granted. You never know when it's going to happen again. There, fan bases that have gone, years, decades without winning a championship, let alone 2. And so the Florida Panthers are right now. They are this is a hockey town right now. They are the owners of this town right now for sure.
Checking in the chat, Steven Gonzalez in the chat. Hello guys, Sports Babe looking awesome. Thank you. Loving the hat, my brother.
He's talking about me, not you.
No, he's definitely
talking about me.
This
amazing hat. Check that out. Championship hat. You got the Stanley Cup logo on the back, and cool inside it says "Raise the Cup." I haven't taken my sticker off. I don't know what yet, but it says "Raise the Cup, baby." Look at that. So an absolute amazing hat. I went to 5 different stores to get it, and I was finally able to get it.
But who was able to find it for you?
You were.
Thank you.
So we were. I was very happy to get this hat.
Fun story about that hat. So obviously we reside down in Miami. Panthers play in Sunrise, which is Broward County, about 45 minutes away. We're about 45 minutes from Fort Lauderdale. So we're not on top of the action, but we're still there, right? And so Lou went looking for his Panthers championship gear and could not find it. Like he went the next day, and I'm like, hey, it's not there. So we went to our local Dick's Sporting Goods shop, and they had it there, and they had tons and tons and tons of stuff. So all the local shops in Fort Lauderdale sold out immediately. The team store sold out immediately. Panthers Land all sold out. And it was our local Dick's Sporting Good, about 45 minutes away from Sunrise, had so much merch. So shout out to the Dick's Sporting Good in Midtown Miami for hooking us up.
I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised because they just did this last year.
Yeah.
And, they all of a sudden, aren't prepared, if you will, to have, the merch out, and especially the back-to-back merch, because that's what everybody was asking for. Back-to-back merch. Where can I get the shirts, the hats, everything that says the official word back-to-back, because that separates
or reigning champs too.
Yeah, reigning champs as well, because that separates you from just a regular championship. So,
got it.
But finally, we were able to get
all our merch.
Yeah, we got all our merch, but we got to get more. So I need a back-to-back shirt.
Yeah. So tonight we are really excited to bring on a special guest. Last week we had Big C's, who I just must say had the time of his life. Right at Club 11, they brought him on the stage. Matthew Tkachuk brought him on the stage. Yep. Then at the parade, they moved the barricades. He had his
little moped chair, and he was in the barricades, and Matthew Tkachuk saw him.
Yeah.
There was rumors that he was going to be in the parade in one of the buses.
That's what he told us.
And I guess it didn't come through, and Matthew Tkachuk was like, no way, he's in it. So they moved the railings out. Yeah. Matthew Tkachuk personally escorted him onto the parade route and was able to get him up with the team, and that was freaking awesome.
Yeah, and then even more, right before we bring on our special guest, so Big C's was on Paul Bissonnette's show
Spitting Chicklets
a few days ago, I think maybe 2 days ago. And Paul Bissonnette has a shirt that said Biz Idiot or something that he's selling. And all the proceeds are actually going to 2 foundations. Great. The one foundation is the NHL Alumni Foundation, which do an amazing job. The second foundation is not a foundation, actually. It's to pay for Caesar season tickets next year. So shout out to Biz. You guys know I have a special place in my heart for him. But anyways, okay. So tonight we have a special guest on our show. This man has covered the Panthers for many, many years.
20 years to be exact.
So he has seen the good, the bad, and especially the last 3 years. I mean,
the amazing
3 years. So I cannot wait to bring him on. So
he's the publisher of Florida Hockey Now.com.
Yeah, worked with ESPN, Miami Herald, NHL.
He's always on with our good pals of the show, Josh Moser with SoFLo and the Big O Show. So he is the man we want to speak to regarding the Florida Panthers' latest championship back-to-back. And so without further ado, everyone, please welcome to the show, George Richards.
Hi, George. How you doing?
Hey, George.
What's going on?
Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
I got to follow Big C's? Come on, that ain't right.
I know.
I can't match that dude's energy. No way.
How does he get it?
We had such a blast with him, too.
The energy that he has, man, he's just from one party spot to the other, and he doesn't stop, man. Fighting former NHL players, it's nonstop.
Nope. I mean, it's a full-time job. I mean, fighting with Biz. But good for him. He's having the time of his life. Good for him.
Yeah, but he's like our soldier, our defender, and he really, and the players know what he did. It's not, the players aren't like, hey, who is this guy? The players know he fought tooth and nail. He put himself out there, and he really rallied up. And so shout out to Big C's. And I mean, this is for him as well. So George, thanks so much for being on tonight. We know that you've had such a crazy run the last, let's just say, 3 years. And I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon. But before we get into Panthers hockey, I love to get to know our guests a little more besides what they do. So, local guy, are you a Panthers fan by trade? South Florida sports fan? Give us the 411. Tell us about you. How you got started?
Covering hockey and the Panthers in general.
Well, I was born and raised here, so we didn't have hockey down here. I mean, back in the day. Started at the Herald covering high school sports back when I was in high school, and what was it, 2003 when the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup. I went up there to cover that for the Miami Herald, and David J. Neal, the beat writer for the Panthers, was like, I'm not doing this anymore. My wife doesn't like it, so it's yours. So I started covering hockey. And I was at all the exhibition games at Miami Arena. I was at the first game that they played at Miami Arena. I've got ticket. I got some stuff over here from the first Panthers stuff. So it's fun. I've been doing it. Saw like you said, saw a lot of down years. I started covering the team during a lockout. That was my first year covering the Panthers. They were locked out, so we had a whole year with no hockey. My first year. Me and Goldie got the radio job that same year. And I did a story on Goldie. He gets his dream job and there's no hockey. And he was kind of like, well, George, you're kind of the same way, right? I'm like, yeah, but I could still go cover something else for the Herald. You're just kind of sitting here in limbo. So Goldie's been, doing different things, but this was his first full time. So we kind of joined the Panthers about the same time.
Awesome. Scott?
Yeah, no. So before we get into the run, there's some breaking news today. The Panthers made a trade with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We got Daniil Tarasov.
I better write it up.
Yeah, well, you did.
But you just said breaking news. I got all antsy.
No. Well, the breaking news
for our show.
For us, but as of today. So tell us about this move, because obviously the Panthers traded Spencer Knight, the backup goalie, in order to get Seth Jones.
Yes.
Amazing move, by the way. I think that panned out pretty well. They got Vanacek from the Sharks, but, he didn't really, I would say, shine during his time under there. So is Tarasov in here now to be the direct backup goalie to Bob?
Absolutely. I think part of the problem, I'm writing this story for Friday for Florida Hockey Now, because a lot of people are asking why would you do this? Well, Vanacek was making about $3.5 million, so he's not gonna. The Florida's only going to pay $1 million for a backup. Okay, I think that's their limit right now, and that's where Tarasov is. He's going to be a $1 million backup. We'll get to him in a second, but Vanacek probably going to make more than that. Capo Kakkonen, I know the Florida Panthers really were high on him. He was the goalie in Charlotte. I think he priced himself out of the Florida Panthers. He had a heck of a run playing for the Charlotte Checkers. He won 8 straight playoff games, gave up 3 goals or fewer in all of those games. I mean, he had an unbelievable run. So I think Kaapo Kähkönen's getting back into the NHL and probably at more than $1 million. So he's out. You get Tarasov, a guy that I'm telling you, watching the Columbus Blue Jackets, he has all the talent in the world. He just hasn't been able to put it together. He's from the same hometown as Sergei Bobrovsky. He idolizes Sergei Bobrovsky. The Florida Panthers have scouted him.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I don't know if you guys remember this game, the Panthers, because we brought it up with Paul Maurice. In Paul Maurice's first year, the Florida Panthers would outshoot everybody and not score any goals. And one of the big games was a game in Columbus. They had 50 shots on goal. They had like 98 shot attempts to like 33, and they lost. They lost the game. That was the goalie who beat the Panthers that night. And that was a game we brought up all year when all these people were, remember the fire Paul Maurice chants? Well, a lot of that was like the poster child for all of that. That game against Columbus, and Tarasov beat the Panthers that day. It was 5-3. He made 47 saves. He had moments like that in Columbus, but there just weren't enough of them. So I think the Florida Panthers are certainly buying low. You gave up a 5th-round pick for him. You're going to pay him $1 million. He doesn't have a contract right now, but you're going to pay him $1 million. He's boys with Bob. It makes complete and utter sense. I mean, this guy was made to be the backup for the Florida Panthers. If he can get his game on track, and Roberto Luongo, Leo Luongo, Rob Tallis, Francois Allaire, they've got to be confident that he can. I think this is a great move for Florida because, there's not much else out there you're going to get for $1 million unless you're thinking maybe an Alex Lyon or something, and you still might sign Alex Lyon. So we'll see.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, how much can we expect him to play? Remember, it's an 82-game schedule for now. More on that in a moment. But with an 82-game schedule, and then you're playing 20-plus playoff games a year, how many of these of the 82 games for now do you think Tarasov gets in and gives Bob a break?
Well, that number is up to Bob. Bob and Robbie Tallis figure out the schedule, but they really want to lighten Bob's load. They don't want him playing 60 games or like he used to. I mean, remember those days? I don't know if you guys, when he was in Columbus, he would play 18 of the final 19 games, carry that team into the playoffs on his back, and then he was done. Right? He was done. There was a reason why Sergei Bobrovsky wasn't a good playoff goalie. It was because he was wore out. Florida's done a great job of spacing that out, and I think that's what they want to do again. Florida just has to make sure that they're a playoff team, and they're going to give Bob all the rest that he needs. Bob wants to play every game, but he's smarter than that. He knows he needs to rest. He's very good with his off days. He gets a lot done when he doesn't play. So I think, barring any injury, you're looking at a 50-30 split. So the backup is going to play some games. There's no doubt about it. But, that leaves Sergei Bobrovsky fresh to, do what he does in the postseason.
So I want to bring up a point that, we had a blast last week. It's been a blast during the playoffs, but now reality sets in, right? Now,
the bill is due, right?
So now it's like, the clouds and everything. Bill Zito and gang, they're going to have a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah.
You have guys like Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, Ekblad, who, we got to make moves to ensure that they stay. Now, everybody's not going to stay on the team. We know that. Now I'm hearing Erod might be one that might be, talked about a trade. What can we do to ensure that we have, if not the same product, but if not a better product for next year to ensure or get us as close as possible to another Stanley Cup as possible?
I think that's the $94 million, $95 million question is trying to fit everything in under a salary cap. And listen, it's not just Bill Zito. It's Bill Zito and company. He has an extremely smart, educated, anything, his front office is unbelievable.
Top notch.
And they've got guys that know the salary cap They know that to the penny, everything, every number you see the Florida Panthers sign a guy for, there's a reason that number is there. And, you know, even when they got Brad Marchand, the Panthers really didn't need Boston to take some of that money, but they needed a little bit extra for the salary cap, and that's why Brad Marchand's number was what it was. They're great at what they do. That said, they have a pretty good idea of the numbers that they can afford. The problem's going to be getting the guys to accept those numbers, and you know, we're talking pretty decent numbers here. Aaron Ekblad, if he goes onto the open market, there's some big money for him out there. I mean, I'm telling you right now, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Detroit Red Wings, the Utah Woolly Mammoths. I mean, there are teams out there that would give Aaron Ekblad $7, $8, $9 million a year.
Yeah.
Maybe not for a 7-year deal, maybe at a 4, but still. And what we're hearing is the Panthers are offering 6. I've said 6.5. I think that's the number. 6.5 for Aaron Ekblad, 7.5 for Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett could get 9 on the open market, but he wants to stay. He's going to get that 8-year deal if that's what he wants. I don't, you know, with the salary cap going up, I don't know, but that's money in the bank. And then you've got the Brad Marchand thing where maybe you get him for 1 year with the 35 plus. This might be the last year you're going to be able to backload it and worry about the salary cap of it next year. I don't know, but these guys do. And this is the stuff we're not hearing. And there's stuff going on behind the scenes. Everybody's all worried, and this front office doesn't say boo to anybody. So when you see leaks coming out of the Florida Panthers, it's probably made up, because they do not leak information. They don't leak it to the insiders. Nobody knew about the Brad Marchand thing until the minute it happened.
Yeah.
Nobody knew anything about Seth Jones until the minute it happened. That's when the insiders are like, I'm hearing Seth Jones to the Panthers. That's because it came through the NHL. The deal was already done. So Florida doesn't leak stuff. So anything you're hearing, unless in the case of Aaron Ekblad, if you hear somebody say, I'm hearing Aaron might test the market, that's coming from an agent. Okay, that's probably legit. But anything from the Panther side, we'll see.
You make a good point.
So we'll see what happens here.
So you make a really good point about the Panthers front office and then Bill Zito going up. And, you know, you look at South Florida as a whole. You're a South Florida guy. Of course, you know, Dolphins, Heat, Marlins, you see it all, right?
Yeah.
I think the Panthers, and I think it's Lou, you would agree as well, they do the best job. I mean, Pat Riley and gang do a great job as well.
Absolutely.
But you compare it to the Dolphins, I mean, there's no apples to oranges. Like, it's Panthers Heat, right? I want to give Pat Riley the respect he deserves for what he's built. Maybe not the last year, so whatever. We've had our trials and tribulations. Yeah. But the Panthers are just so much higher than, I don't want to say what the Dolphins have been doing, but just some of the messes.
No, yeah, in town, they definitely are that team.
Well, when you look, and this is something we talked about years ago with Dale Talon, and not just saying that Pat Riley and the Miami Heat had banked enough credit in South Florida where they could have a season where they don't make the playoffs. Even that one season where they tanked it. Yeah. Remember, Pat Riley left the team to go scout, and everybody was like, "It's Pat Riley. He's built up enough cred with us. That's cool. Go do your thing, man. Go do what you got to do." The Panthers could never build that. Now the Panthers are there. Now when Bill Zito says, I think I can sign Sam Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad, and everybody's like, I don't know how he's going to do it. All right. If you say so, all right. I mean, if he says it, then okay. Then that's what they're looking to do. So even though it doesn't make any sense, we're going to come down and go, oh, I didn't even think about that. But that's what these guys do. They've been thinking about it for months. Bill Zito told me last year, I was asking him about Sam Reinhart, and he goes, there are nights I wake up and I go to the computer, 3 a.m. What if we got this guy for X? I mean, he doesn't just have a plan B. He's got a plan ZY. I mean, he's got a plan for everything. And he has built up that cred. And you're talking about Pat Riley. And nobody else in this town has done that. Well, maybe the Marlins have. I mean, we know this is going to work out. So.
Well, I wanted to ask you, George, also. And so, last year we lost Montour.
I do like the Marlins team, though. I like this team.
Oh, we love them.
They're fun.
They're
fun. No. They're fun to watch. They're
exciting.
They're exciting. Good kids.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yeah. But so look, we lost Montour last year and Tarasenko as well. Well, Tarasenko was expected. Ryan Lomberg was, a role player, if you will, on this team. But, Zito has proven he could do it again. But of the three big boys here, Bennett, Marchand, and Ekblad, is keeping one enough to sustain this, or do you think it's got to be 2 out of 3? I
think it's got to be 2 out of 3, and I think the 2 out of 3 is Bennett and Ekblad. I mean, I thought Brad Marchand was a luxury item. You only got him because you had the money. You had the money to do it, and let's see what happens. And obviously, it worked out better than anybody could have thought.
Yeah.
But he's also 37 years old. He is looking for a big payday. I said it when they got him. I thought he was a rental, and up until about 10 days ago, I thought he was a rental. But if he sticks around, that's awesome. The guys love him. He has become a part of the Florida Panthers in a very short time. The whole Dairy Queen thing, the whole everything, the whole ambiance.
Panthers culture, right? He really
he's immersed in it, man. He
did excellent. His family,
blue, golden, red, whatever. And who would have thought, the Boston Bruin captain is now Mr. Florida Panther. But if it's only the 2 of the 3, I think from just an importance part, I mean, you look at Sam Bennett, we don't have to talk about him. He's your number 2 center. We know what he does. Aaron Ekblad is a right-handed defenseman and is the soul of this team. I mean, or one of the guys. I mean, he is the guy that everything rotates around. We talk about Sasha Barkov and we talk about Matthew Tkachuk, but Aaron Ekblad is the guy that sets up a lot of this. I mean, he is just the glue guy, and it'd be hard to see him in a different jersey. So we will see what happens.
I agree with you from a marketing standpoint, though. The Rat King and
no.
The sex appeal, right?
but he wants to be paid like.
Yeah.
He didn't get paid. He took an 8-year deal with Boston. That turned out to be a really great deal for Boston. Yeah. I think he was making $5.5–6 million, very underpaid. He's trying to get some of that back now. Florida can't afford to give it back to him now. They just don't have the money under the cap. But who knows? Listen, Matthew Tkachuk could go on LTIR again. He's going to, if he needs surgery in a couple months, he's not going to start the season. Florida may be able to work some things out. But, the numbers that you hear, and they are nonsense. I mean, who knows? But we do know, that Boston was negotiating with Brad Marchand, and it came down to money. And he left Boston. So we'll see if Florida can get all 3. That would be great. But I just think that Aaron Ekblad has an immense importance to this team, both on and off the ice.
And if not, it's in Bill Zito we trust, right?
Right. He's doing everything he can to keep everybody, and whatever it is, and
it might hurt a little bit,
however it works out.
But
it's not. You can trust that it's not being done on a whim.
Yeah.
Let's just say you sign Marchand 3 times 5, random made up number. You'd be like, okay, that sounds a little high, but you know what? They just didn't do it because of the Dairy Queen stuff. They just didn't do it because they can sell some T-shirts. Yeah. The Panthers fully thought this out, the pros, the cons, all of it, and that's what they decided on. Okay, whatever they know what they're doing.
Perfect. Now you got no off season for you. You're going into late June, and here we are a week later after the Cup and the parade.
The draft.
You got the draft tomorrow night, and then you got.
That's a day off, but
here we are taking them. I know.
And then you got the free agency starting on July 1st. So you got the draft. The Panthers got 6 picks in rounds 4 through 7. So between that and obviously the names that we just brought up that are pending free agents, how do you see the Panthers navigating with this roster with regards to the draft coming up here tomorrow and then starting on July 1st for free agency?
Well, it's obvious that Bill Zito will move draft picks if need be. You got a goalie today for a 5th round pick. So that's, everybody talks about the Florida Panthers don't care about the draft. No, he's using the draft as bargaining chips, and he's selling off for players. So I don't think this draft will be very exciting unless the Florida Panthers make a couple moves or they announce some contract extensions. I wouldn't think that happens. The draft is in Los Angeles, although all the Florida Panther people are here in South Florida. It's more like the NBA draft than it is what we're used to, right? At the NHL draft, where you have the big floor and everybody's walking around. That's not the way it is this year. Everybody's in their home cities. So, we'll see what happens as far as trades. But the last time we had one of these kind of deals where everybody was on their Zoom, the Florida Panthers traded for Sam Reinhart. So we'll see what happens at that. Florida could be busy. I mean, maybe there is a trade in the works, to free up some salary cap space. So, but I don't think Florida is looking to get into the first round. Maybe they do that just to shed some salary cap space. I don't know, but stay tuned.
And how does it work with players if they were to, keep all their draft picks? You eventually got to create a roster space for them. So I know the NBA, the NHL is different, but look what OKC did in basketball, where they stockpiled all these draft picks, and then they have a pipeline, and they also don't need to draft because they're set up nicely, as the Panthers are, for years to come. So go ahead.
No. We're going to talk about that. Development camp is coming up in maybe next week. I haven't got the dates, but Florida has done a terrific job because they don't have first round picks. They don't have many second or third. They've done a great job of identifying players with upside that maybe other people they're spending a lot of. The Florida Panthers are spending a ton of money that nobody sees. Yeah. They've got scouts all over the place. They're finding these hidden gems. Look at last year's draft. Florida found some excellent young players who came into training camp. You're not expecting anything out of these kids, and they look like NHL players. And it was like, that kid was a 6th round pick. That kid was in the 7th round. Where's he playing this year? He's playing junior hockey for one more. It's like, you got him in the 6th round. What? So they're identifying good players to draft late. They're also finding guys in, college guys that may be late bloomers that you're able to sign as a college free agent. They didn't get drafted at 17 or 18. Now they've played 3-4 years of college hockey. Florida's finding guys like that. They've been using the Charlotte Checkers to develop some players. So that's more of a 3-4 years down the road problem. Because the Panthers are, all the big guys are locked down. So, this run's not stopping. To your question earlier about how did the Panthers be as good as they were last year? I don't know. If you would ask me that last year, I don't know. They just, as long as they're in the mix, I wouldn't want to play this team in the playoffs. You just got to get to the playoffs, and you're going to see some bad hockey in December, in January, and there are going to be stretches where you're like, this team just ain't no good, and you're like, they're in Detroit tonight. They don't care. They honestly don't care. And people got mad at me for saying that. I'm like, they don't care. They're like, oh, no, another game, a back-to-back
in Detroit.
Can we just bring up the AHL guys to play a game? You can't do that in basketball. Load management. You can sit your guys and play, and you still got 8 guys that never get to play, but you can't do that in hockey. You got to ice 20 players or 19 with the backup goalie, and every night you got to do it.
So looking a little forward, the league reported that they're thinking about going from 82 games to an 84-game season. Right. So what do you feel about adding those extra 2 games? Do you feel like it's going to be a make or break? Do you feel like if it's not broken, don't fix the system? What do you feel about potentially adding 2 more games to the regular season?
I would have liked to have seen an expanded playoffs. I know that Gary Bettman is completely against. I like the NBA play-in was fun. That was a lot of fun watching those play-in games. He's totally against it. He says the regular season is you're playing, you didn't make it, and that's fine. But when you add 2 expansion teams in a couple years to Houston and Atlanta, you're looking at 34 teams. Right now, half the NHL makes the playoffs. Now it's going to be 45%. So maybe you extend it a little bit. As far as the regular season goes, just before the Florida Panthers became an NHL team, they played 84 because teams would play at neutral sites. That's why we had NHL games at Miami Arena before the Panthers were a team. The Tampa Bay Lightning, one of their home games was at Miami Arena because
I did not know that.
They had an extra home game. Okay. So the Tampa Bay Lightning played at Miami Arena. Wow. The next day, the NHL awarded them the Panthers. So
interesting. I did not know that.
Tampa Bay Lightning, I think the New York Rangers played, and then the next day, the NHL meeting, they gave Wayne Huizenga the expansion.
Wow.
So another thing I want to ask you, not an argument that we've had, but a point of discussion that we've had is the dynasty word, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure people have asked you too. I think this is a dynasty or very close to, even in the Stanley Cup. The last 3 years, you've won it twice. You've built something great. You put our name on the map. We've got respect. People are chirping at us. There's hate from other fans. Lou said, you know what? I've lived through the Heat dynasties. I've seen the
I don't consider the Heat a dynasty. If I may, George, before I respectfully give you the floor to answer your question.
He's rebuttaling.
Here's my thing. And this has been.
So I say, yes, it is a dynasty. Go ahead.
This has been an incredible run. And we all want so much more. The thing is, and especially in hockey, you got the Canadians back in the day that did, more than 2. You look to the Oilers, the Edmonton Oilers, and New York Islanders, and then in the NBA, you got Jordan did it twice. Bulls. The Warriors did it. Go back to Magic winning 5 with the Lakers, Bird winning 3. So I think the number is 3.
So whose case do you have?
San Francisco in baseball with the Giants, they won 3 in a 6-year span. I think the number is 3 in a 5 to 6 year window. To separate you from even a back-to-back. I mean, the Lightning just won 2 out of 3 as well before. So, what is it, dynasty or not? Tell us.
Are you Team Ashley or Team Lou?
I think it's on the verge of it because it's not there yet. I mean, yes, you're right. 3 straight trips to the finals, 2 championships. If this ends tomorrow and this team all of a sudden stops making the playoffs, no, it's not a dynasty. But they're not there. This tank is still full. I mean, they're not going anywhere. That Tampa team was hurt by salary cap. And you talk about all these dynasties, though the Islander teams didn't have to deal with a salary cap. Those Edmonton Oiler teams didn't have a salary cap. In fact, they overspent because they had to trade Gretzky because they didn't have the money. Because they had overspent to keep up with the Detroit, all the other big teams. So, listen, this isn't basketball. You've got 25 guys on a team or whatever, as opposed to you're playing 8 to 9 in basketball, and you can keep that core together. Had the Miami Heat kept. If had LeBron not gone back to Cleveland, are the Miami Heat not a dynasty?
Yes.
Because they went to the finals 4 straight years, right? They lost to Dallas. They beat Oklahoma City. They beat San Antonio, lost to San Antonio. 2015, if LeBron James is still here, if they keep the big 3 together, the Miami Heat just keep going. And I think that's where the Panthers are. Unless Kachuk, Ekblad, Barkov, and Reinhardt all walk away tomorrow. This keeps moving, and then you can say yes, because again, it is a lower bar. Then you can't look at the Islanders. They won 4 straight, and they're in a world of their own. So are those old Montreal Canadiens teams. They won what? They've got 27, 28.
Crazy like that, yeah.
Different world.
Yeah,
so
different time.
When you're talking about in this salary cap era and the way that Florida's been able to maintain, and now the salary cap is going up, that's where Tampa got hurt, right? It was a flat salary cap. There was nowhere to go, but Florida, it's going up. And
Yeah, I do love how hockey, though, more than any other sport, allows you to, keep your core players together. You mentioned Barkov and Chuck, wrapped up here. But, you got in the NHL, you don't see holdouts like in the NFL where players like, oh, I need more money. They stick to their contracts and honor it. So that's a very refreshing thing from a fan's perspective, that your players are going to stick around, and you don't have to worry about, oh, this guy's not going to show up to practice or camp, And the NBA, too, has become free agency has become musical chairs where teams joining multiple teams back and forth. And LeBron went to Cleveland twice. It's just, the NHL has the right format and system from a fan's perspective, for sure.
But some players have been able to control their destiny, right?
That's true.
Matthew Tkachuk. Yeah. He said, I am not signing with you, and here's where I will go. Sam Reinhart kind of did the same thing to Buffalo. Jack Eichel did that to Buffalo. So players, they played out their 6-7 years, but they're like, but that was it. Right. I'm done after this. And they're able to control where they go if they don't want to stay there anymore. And that's good. I mean, players need to have at least a little bit of power, and that's where they have their control, is that second contract or that third contract, I guess, in hockey. So, Matthew Tkachuk wouldn't have been here if he would have just, stayed in Calgary, because they would have given him the 8 years. They would have given him that money, but he didn't want to be there anymore. And here he is. And goodness gracious, what a run it's been.
Yeah, so George, I got one more for you, and this is one that actually I asked Caesar, and I stumped him. He looked at me like I had 10 heads, and then it took him a second. So I'm gonna drop the same question to you. So you've covered the Panthers many years. You have a great resume. You know these guys on and off the field, on and off the ice. I know, field. Ice, right? Ice. So who has been your favorite Panther that you've covered? Whether that's a personality, whether that's just a cool guy in the locker room, cool guy on the ice, cool guy in the community. Just who is your guy that you go out to? A
good soundbite, the guy that you get the good soundbite from.
You're taking a Morton Steakhouse tonight. Who are you taking to Morton's tonight?
Thomas Vokoun.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you got to back it up.
I don't want to play favorites with any of the Barkovs or the Reinhardts or the Bennett or the Ekblad. So I'll go back in time. Thomas Vokoun was just a great guy.
That was your guy.
Very underrated he doesn't get enough credit for how good a goalie he was. That Florida Panther team was horrible, and he just got peppered, and he never complained. He faced a lot of pucks in his day and never complained. He even had his own teammate beat him up with a stick. Do you guys remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, one of his defensemen, he got frustrated. There was a one-on-one or whatever. The defenseman got beat, and he was frustrated, so he took his stick to smash the cage. And right at that point, Vokoun stepped up and got popped on the ear. Had to be taken to the hospital.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give you that one. So Big C's, I'll tell you what he said. He liked about it, and he played the fair card. He was just like, I can't name a player, but Paul Maurice. So
that's not a bad choice.
I know. We're like, yes, you could do dinner with Paul Maurice, and I'm sure it'd be wonderful.
I'm sure Paul would love to take him out.
And
I think Paul's only in town for another 2 days, though. He's already told us he puts his cell phone away. He's got no cell service. He goes to some lake in North Dakota. I mean, he's
good for him with his cats.
With his cat. Yeah, he packs the cats. He's got a van. He's told me the whole setup. He's got a van that they got the cats. He's like, I can make coffee in the morning, and then we get on the road. The cats get their food. I'm like, that's great, man.
That's great. So Paul Maurice. I could see him saying it.
I want to follow up with Paul Maurice, man. How is it like to cover him? And this guy is a leader of men. I mean, everything he says, the players eat it up. Undefeated in game sevens. The calmness, the poise. There's never a worry. You're down 2-0 to Toronto. No problem. We're going to get back in the series, and it happens. What's it like covering him, and how does he have this aura about him that he's able to do what he's done here the last 2 years?
I think he's just at peace with things. That he's playing with house money right now. He's how do I put this? His first job, he was the youngest coach in the NHL. He was 28 years old. He got thrown into coaching the Hartford Whalers.
Yeah.
He gets thrown into it. They're terrible. They're terrible for years. They moved to Carolina. They're terrible. He gets them to the Stanley Cup final. They lose to the Detroit Red Wings. He has one bad job after another, and he finally gets Winnipeg where it is, and he's like, I can't get him any further. Gets the Panthers. They go on that big run to the Stanley Cup final, and he was really disappointed when Florida lost to Vegas. But I think last year it just kind of flipped to where he was just like, whatever happens, happens, man. I'd like to win one, but if it doesn't happen, my family loves me. It doesn't matter. And then they won it. And, yeah, I mean, he is. I mean, the players all love him. Nate Schmidt only played for him for a couple months in Winnipeg. And that was one of the reasons why he wanted to come here. He was like, I love Palmer. I wanted, he had unlocked something, and then he was gone. So yeah, I mean, he is a player that all the guys respect, because he's been there. He's done that. That's why he got the job. That's because when Bill Zito decided we got to tear this thing down, we just won the President's Trophy, but we got swept by Tampa Bay because the way we play doesn't work in the playoffs. It just doesn't work. And people are going to get upset. We need somebody to come in here who's going to change it and stick with it. Andrew Burnett, great coach, great guy, but he was also a young coach. Yeah. And the thing was, had they given him the job, the first time the Panthers had lost 4 in a row or 5 out of 6, and you're starting to hear all the noise, you change back to what's familiar, right? You go back to what worked before, and that defeats the purpose. Paul Maurice has been fired 4 or 5 different times. He told me, he goes, I don't care about getting fired. Yeah. Bill Zito knew he would stick with it. And remember that first year, fire Paul Maurice change?
Yes, we were talking about that earlier.
And he stuck with it. And finally, the Panthers were like, well, I guess we're not changing back. And they got, all of a sudden, you see what they did in the playoffs in 2023. But that was not how they were playing in January or February. It started to turn in late February into March. But it took that sticking with it. And had they not made the coaching change and Paul Maurice being the right guy at the right time, the Panthers are still playing that up and down. We want 5 and all. And now look at them. They play the best defense, and they're still scoring 5-6 goals. So now they got it both. They got everything you need.
Incredible. And last thing for you, you tweeted today, first of all, amazing follow on Twitter at George Richards. You got to definitely follow all the updates that he has.
On X, not Twitter.
Sorry, on X.
We get back to that.
Yeah. You mentioned, whatever, whichever one. You mentioned that the scoreboard went out, and so they're putting in a new scoreboard. Nice. Obviously, reduced seating, right? Because they're going to make that whole mid-ice section. They're going to build it out into, I guess, a club.
No, it's going to be the end zones.
The end zone. Sorry, the end zone.
Yeah. They're going to do. They're going to do there's going to be like a wall.
Oh.
Yeah. Next year's going to be weird because from what I've been told, they're starting construction, but once the ice goes down, they got to stop. No more construction because of the dust and all that. Yeah. So they're just going to put up a wall. Wow. So next year, one end zone is just gone.
So how much?
Now it'll come back when everything's finished because you'll have those seats up top. But for next year, from what I've been told, you're going to have a brand new scoreboard, but you're also going to have a gigantic wall. Oh. But it'll probably be decorated and all. It'll probably look cool.
Yeah.
There'll be a
lot of seating. Then you're losing what? Like probably
5,000. Yeah,
no.
5,000.
Yeah, I think they said 3,500 seats.
3,500. Wow.
Yeah. Now, that's one reason why season tickets went up so much.
Yeah, no, and listen, they should have.
It's going to be lower capacity next year.
And what's the Dolphins' excuse for going up then? No, because our season tickets went up for the Dolphins.
Tyreek,
right.
salary.
You got to pay those guys. Yeah,
you got to pay those guys. That's right.
But so all these enhancements, obviously, that they're doing to the Amerant Bank Arena, they're there to stay for the immediate foreseeable future.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I would think
maybe downtown Fort Lauderdale. I mean, we're staying in Sunrise. I mean, I don't see this changing, right?
No. I think that the whole Fort Lauderdale arena thing died with COVID.
Yeah.
That was a talk. I guess the old courthouse, there was a talk about putting a site there. There's just no room for it now. The traffic's too bad, the flooding. It would be an absolute nightmare, and they know what they got. I mean, Gary Bettman wants them to stay in Sunrise. They've got it's not the best of locations, but it certainly isn't the worst, especially when you've got all those parking lots, you've got all that access off the freeways. If you put it on a downtown, and you guys have gone east to west in Fort Lauderdale, in South Florida, you can't do it. So they're fine where they are. They wouldn't be making, to your point, they would not be making this kind of financial investment for a place that they're leaving in 5 years. So they've got I believe a 35-year lease with Broward County. They've got a deal with them where they can try and offer up a plan to develop the land around the arena in 5 years. But I think that's probably the way the Panthers and the Broward County work together now. That's a formality. It wasn't like that when Vinny Viola got here. The Panthers were like the Broward County was like, when this team leaves, and they are there, what do we do with that arena? Because they're just going to leave us. I mean, that's how bad it was. They were like, the Florida Panthers, we don't trust a word you say. Michael Yormark would come in and I got all these numbers. And they'd be like, whatever, dude. We don't believe a word of it. Now they're best friends.
Yeah, of course.
Well, the only thing Amerant Bank needs is some Dairy Queen kiosks around. I think we can all be in agreement.
What do they got? The Tasty Freeze or what? The
Mr. Softy, is it?
Mr. Softy.
That's that New York.
So, but listen, George, thank you for joining us. We are your coverage is outstanding.
Yes.
And once again, you're going to have another banner raising you're covering. You got the Winter Classic this year coming up
at Lone Depot Park. We'll be there.
Who would have ever thought?
I did.
Well,
he said it first.
I've been selling this since 2000, since the ballpark, before the ballpark was even opened.
It's going to be amazing.
I was writing about this in the Miami Herald. I'm like, you can do it.
He broke the news, Lou. He broke the news.
I'm thrilled you get to cover it. You got the Winter Olympics, another White House visit, and there's even talk of a hockey version of the World Cup as well. So
they're gonna do that. Yeah, they did that a couple years ago. It was fun.
Yeah,
so it was fun.
So
we're glad to be able to take some of your time tonight, because we know you're going to be even busier as more fun comes. So thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Where can our followers or viewers stay in contact with you on social media? Anything you do on and off publications?
Well, what do we got? We got the Twitters at George Richards. Come visit me at FloridaHockeyNow.com. Stories every day about your Panthers. Every day. Even like August 22nd, I'll have a Florida Panthers story for you.
I love it.
Love it.
Promise you.
I'm going to hold you to it.
We'll have one, but it'll be there. There's nothing going on. What in the world could he make up today? I got to
do it. You do it.
What else we got? We got the YouTube channel, Florida Hockey Now YouTube, which is all the post-game, pre- and post-game videos from the Panthers. That's about it.
All right. So you stay busy.
That's a lot, George. But thank you again for joining us. Everybody out there, give him a follow. Everything that he does is top notch, so you will not be disappointed. And hopefully, you can join us again now as the season gets closer, or mid-season, and talk about the champion, another championship quest for 3.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, once we'll know a lot more. Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday afternoon, we should know where this team stands, because you'll know all about by Tuesday, we'll have most 95% of these questions will be answered.
Fantastic. Perfect. Thank you again, George, for joining us. All right, you have a good rest of your
guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
That was awesome. He is the go-to guy for Florida Panthers. Any news that is out there or to be had, George Richards is your guy. So
one thing I didn't know of how the Lightning came and played in Miami.
I did not know that.
When he said that, I took a step. I didn't take a step back. Obviously, I'm sitting, but I was like, wait, what? They actually had. He said
our rivals were there.
We're here in our arena. No, that's like the Rays are a bad example, because they're being housed somewhere else right now. But that was crazy to know that the Lightning came down here.
I didn't know that. And it's probably, before I've spent plenty of times in the old Miami arena. I loved it. It was a great venue.
I've heard stories.
Saw plenty of Panthers games there. Saw a lot of Heat games there. Actually, one of my most memorable one was a loss, but Miami Heat first ever playoff game in the Miami Arena, 1992 against some guy called Jordan. The Bulls. Back then it was
I have a bag named Jordan.
Back then it was a 5-game series, and The Bulls obviously destroyed us the first two in Chicago. And game 3 was down here in Miami. Michael Jordan infamously said, I'm packing one suit and I'm bringing my golf bag because we're not staying in Miami for more than one night. He went on to drop 56 points and eliminate the Heat. So a lot of history in that arena, mostly bad. The Panthers also played in a Stanley Cup final at that arena in 1996. A lot of people don't realize that, but they did. They were in the finals of the old arena against the Colorado Avalanche. They got swept. But a lot of memories at that old building, and the Miami Arena was a classic place.
Yes. So before we switch gears and leave hockey to rest, you guys seen a lot of us this week, right? We had a show at Big C's. Was it Thursday or what? Friday? It was Friday.
It was
Friday before we went to 11.
Yeah.
And then we did a pre-parade little segment going on there. So if you
I was at the elbow room.
Anyways, I went too, but not when he was there. Well, anyway. Okay. So Big C's, the show was on Friday, so be sure to check that out. And then on Sunday, we did a pre-parade coverage. Right now, it went live on Facebook. However, a big problem that we encountered on Sunday was we're on the beach. And service, like everybody's on their phones, everybody's on the cell towers, everyone's using Wi-Fi, ESPN, Canadian channels, everything.
All the news coverages were.
So that episode, it was live on Facebook. So if you follow us on Facebook, be sure to see it there. But we uploaded it on YouTube too. So if you missed that, it is on YouTube. We greet pre-parade coverage that you definitely don't want to miss. So be sure to check that out.
We had a great spot from the Hotel Marin. We also, pre-parade, I want to mention, stayed at the Best Western Plus.
Excellent hotel.
Incredible. More on that coming up, but it's an amazing, amazing property. We were able to see our good friends out there, Cato and Alfredo, and we were hanging out with lifeguard Lou, who was out there too. So we had a good support system out there.
Weekend last weekend.
Great spot, great location to watch the parade.
No rain, no lightning.
No rain this year. No rival Tampa Bay Lightning.
That was a blast.
And we had coming to us. We had Aaron Eckblad. I don't know if you have that.
So that's actually where I'm leading to. So before we get into that, Lou loves this picture, right? After they won, it was game 6. Lou was like, "Give me your back." I'm like, "What do you want my back for?" Right? Like, don't touch my back. He's like, "No, I need your back." So and he was like, "We got to do a picture."
That's right.
And I'm like, okay. And Lou's a big guy, so I'm like, okay. So Lou, this is going to be on our Christmas cards this year, guys, just so you know. Yeah. Oh, sorry, wrong picture. Nope, I think it's this one. Nope, wrong picture. Sorry, I can't see. It is.
It's up there somewhere.
There it is, right here. Yeah, right there. Okay, sorry. So this is the picture that Lou insisted. You would have thought he was like a wedding photographer who needed the best shot. So go ahead, Lou. Explain what's going on here.
History to this. So I was at game 7 in 2013 when the Heat beat the San Antonio Spurs in 7th game, and me and my brother had the idea to do a pose like this.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
We did a back-to-back pose, and so I said, "Hey, we got to do this," because I did it with my brother and it worked. And so I did it. I wanted to recreate that amazing footage, that amazing picture. So there it is.
Well, I'm glad I was able to be your recreation footage. I'm glad I was able to lean my back.
Thank you for joining me. All right, what else you got here?
So let me remove that. All right, I love this picture of us. Okay, so this was at the parade. This is at Hotel Marin, which is right in front of the stage, the hotel to watch the parade from. And it was hot, right? I mean, it was just people were passing out. They had medical stations around. It was super hot. So this is us. Before the parade happened, because my hair is still somewhat straight there. Lou drinking a beer, and we're just chilling like villains there. All right. And then,
as mentioned with George Richards, this is Paul Maurice, the great Paul Maurice, lifting that trophy. Look, he looks like a scholar, right? He looks like a guy that I knew this was going to happen. I knew this all along. Like he writes in his journal, tonight I'm going to hoist the cup. No big deal. I'll do it again next year. But this is the great Paul Maurice with a great moment with Stanley.
More than that, like what George just told us about Paul Maurice, and I love animals, and I know Paul Maurice loves his animals too, and just his passion. He's bringing his cats and this and that. So it's just a nice follow up to what George just shared with us about how awesome of a guy Paul Maurice truly is.
Yeah. All right. They were all on these double-decker buses. Fun fact. So I got to share this story. Yeah. So the players are. Not only are they throwing stuff to the fans, T-shirts and things like that, the fans were throwing beers at the players and they were getting them and shotgunning them. That was awesome. But also the players were spraying did you hear about the story?
I don't know where you're going.
The players were spraying the fans with water guns.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And not just any water gun.
I heard this.
The Panthers actually they melted the ice, the championship ice, and they put it into these water guns. So when the fans were being sprayed by the players with water, it was not just any water; it was championship ice water. So that is pretty cool right there. Here's Carter Verhaeghe, Swaggy, with his captain's hat. He came right to us.
With Seth Jones, right? Is that Seth with him?
I think that is Seth Jones.
I think it is.
Yeah. So, you had the players coming off those double-decker buses and making their way into the crowd on both sides, whether you were on the sidewalk where all the restaurants and bars were, or whether you were beachside. Players were coming off the buses and shaking hands with the fans, posing for pictures, doing selfies, drinking beers. If fans had beers in coolers, which that was encouraged and a lot of fans did, the players were taking the fans' beers and drinking it and cheering with them. I mean, again, this hockey team is just a bunch of likable dudes, cool guys, and they were loving it. They were loving every minute of it.
Different. Even like our enemy. I mean, I probably mentioned Biz. He should have been a hashtag as much as I mentioned him. But even Paul Bissonnette, like an arch nemesis of us, like just cool dudes, right? Like hockey, the hockey community, hockey as a whole, the reporters, it's just a cool, even underrated sport too.
Yeah.
You hear football, baseball's still America's pastime. Basketball had a great, a run with Oklahoma City, Indiana, all that stuff. But hockey is it's just beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And the players make it beautiful and so wonderful. All right. Last thing, basketball, right? I feel like basketball season just ended. Oklahoma City won championship. Congratulations.
Tough game 7.
Tyrese Halliburton, man.
Very sad.
You hate to see it, right? And it was a non-contact injury, and just the way he fell, and you knew, even his dad's loyal in the stands, and it just broke your heart, even if you're not a Pacers fan. So when that happened, it just, especially at a game 7 like that. So we know how that story ended. Oklahoma City did win their championship, and then fast forward, the NBA 2025 draft started last night. It was first round of the NBA draft, and the Miami Heat. And the second round of the draft begins pretty much now at 8:00. The Miami Heat went into the draft with the number 20th pick. We got this number 20th pick because the whole Jimmy Butler moving around situation. So that's how we ended up with this 20th round pick from Golden State in the 2025 draft. Now, going into this, we trust Pat Riley, right? There's rumors going around. Okay, are we going to keep this draft pick? What are we going to do? Are we going to trade? Blah, 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 blah. I had a guy in mind that I liked, and we were on our good friend Bobby's Fence Talk show last night. And, we're on it and we're live, right? And we're doing it as the draft's progressing. And we start seeing the names come off. So one guy that I really like, Thomas Weber from Georgetown, big freshman guy, wingspan. And how I'm thinking of this is I'm thinking Bam Adebayo, you get 2 versions of him. You get the 1.0, the 2.0. How much longer does Bam really have? Let's start,
Well, Bam is still young. He's got to find and stick to his game, which he kind of diverted from that last year and trying to shoot 3-pointers. So I'm not worried about Bam, but he needs help is what
So that's why I was really leaning towards this Georgetown guy, right? And he ended up getting drafted. But that's how it works, right? So we're like, all right, so who's Ash's second pick? Then I like Nolan Trayer. He was from France. What happened? A few picks later, he goes. So then we're like, all right, what are the Heat going to do? There are plenty of players still eligible to get drafted. And then finish the story. Here we go.
So I think the Heat they were looking for probably a point guard or, as you mentioned, just size. So with the number 20th pick, I wish I had the jingle, but the Heat picked Kasparas Jakucionis from Illinois.
KJ by short, and he does go by KJ. So just so you guys know.
You could call him Kasparas or Caspi or
KJ.
Yes. Big O had a really good name for him, Kasparas the Friendly Jakucionis. It's a good play on Casper the Friendly Ghost.
I like it.
But yeah, however you want to say it, he's still got to prove himself, but he'll get a chance to do it soon enough as the Heat will break into summer camp next week, summer league ball. And so they're going to be playing actual games against other rookies. So that'll be fun to watch. But look, by all accounts, he's a player that was projected to go between 8 and 12, and he fell to us at 20. So I think there's a lot of value in the pick, a player that, again, has a big upside. He was a freshman. He actually played some professional in the way that they could get around it. But he was with FC Barcelona, where he had some time with them, and then came over to the States and played with, again, the University of Illinois this past year. Averaged 15 points a game. His shot is being developed, but he's known for being a great passer. So, and that's something that we could use. So I think, look, the Heat coaching staff, they always are able to turn players similar to what George Richards mentioned the Panthers are doing now.
Yeah.
The Heat have always been able to do that. Between Adam Simon, who's got eyes like you wouldn't believe, that can identify talent from all over, and then, of course, Pat and Spo. So I trust in what the Heat are doing and what they did here. And so we are looking forward to them having this young team continue to develop and to get better.
Yep. And just a little more on the draft. Obviously, Flag went number 1. That was heavily projected. That's no surprise. One surprise that is just noted to be said, Rutgers had 2 players go in the first round. Rutgers had a very unimpressive year last year. So despite their unimpressive year, their record, they still had 2 players end up getting drafted in the first round.
I mean, that coach got to
shout out Jersey, but what the heck?
And that coach got to be fired, right? Because you got 2 draft picks, in the top 5, and you all of a sudden, didn't even make the tournament. Won, I think, like 15 games. I mean, there's got to be. He obviously didn't use those players correctly. But one thing I will note also about the NBA draft, there was a lot of freshman players selected.
Yeah.
In years past, there was a shift to international players. There was still some in there, a couple players from France, from Spain, but predominantly it was a heavy freshman, young, class drafted in the lottery here.
They want to go in. Believe they're ready. They think they're ready.
It's no accident that with the NIL and these players that are studs that are getting all this money to play college basketball, naturally you're gonna see them going immediately in the draft because they're getting that money for a reason, right? Now it's not just like, oh, we're taking a flyer on a guy who was good in AAU. We're giving him top money because he is the next coming of so-and-so. And so that's why you saw a lot of freshmen being picked. So, that's it.
And then the only thing I'll say, tonight, again, being the second and last round of the NBA draft, just best wishes to RJ Lewis, obviously coming from my St. John's Red Storm team. He is an eligible pick. Hoping he goes second round. So best of luck to you, RJ, tonight. Hoping you find a home in the draft tonight.
Yep. And Steven Gonzalez says, just tear it down, start fresh. They're nowhere near your title with Bam and Tyler Hero. Look, I get you. I wouldn't trade them both. He's saying trade both. I wouldn't trade them both. I'm with you, though, that I don't think that those guys are next level. They're not stars. They're good players. Bam, in my opinion, better than Tyler, but they're not guys that by themselves are going to lead you to a title.
Needle,
that's why Jimmy Butler was here, and we moved on from that. So now you got to see the younger players being developed. Jaime Jaquez took a step backwards. He had a sophomore slump. But Jovic just turned 20 years old, and he's the guy that was drafted 2 years ago. And so we're hoping that he develops into what the Heat supposedly saw from him. The pick from last year, Khalil Ware, he didn't start playing until game 33, 34 serious minutes. And so here's a guy that also, I think he's 19 years old. So he's going to obviously develop. So we have the young players there. And by the way, you didn't mention who the Heat didn't get, which was Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, a lot of people wanted to trade for 37-year-old Kevin Durant. We didn't do it. We stuck with our players for now, at least, in this youth movement and try to develop those young guys. But look at the East. You mentioned Halliburton going out. Jason Tatum is out, and with that move,
it's an open field for anybody next year for the East. Anybody can play chess and go up.
Specifically with those two, the Indiana Pacers, their best player is now out the entire year next year. Jason Tatum, because he's out almost the whole year as well. They traded Holiday and they traded Porzingis, so the Celtics are pretty much scrapping their roster together. And then you got the Knicks that just fired their coach, so they're going to have a new system in place. So. The East is somewhat open here, and the Heat are going to have a chance to move a little bit up the ranking, and we'll see. But I agree with you, Steve, and I don't know that Tyler and Bam are anywhere close to leading this basketball team.
So
get you out of this Inter Miami. Inter Miami is they came out of their group in the Club World Cup. They beat a team from Brazil. I The name escapes
It was
me right
a
now.
late game. It was a 9:00 game here at the Hard Rock, so that's pretty late.
It was packed, though. I'll tell you this: the game was packed, and you got to give it to. Again, I don't have the team in front of me right now, but they showed up. They were doing their chants, their soccer chants all night long. The Inter Miami actually went up 2-0, and then they tied it with two late goals in the second half. And but with that tie, the game ended in a tie. With that tie, both teams came out 1 and 2 in the group. So
both advanced.
Inter Miami's in the knockout stage now. They are the only team from the MLS to be in that round of 16, and they will be playing against PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, which is Messi's former team and one of the world famous, one of the most world famous soccer clubs out there. So they are going to be heavy underdogs, but that's great exposure for Inter Miami. Great exposure, obviously, continuing exposure for Messi still being in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
You know that the organizers, the TV, the stadiums that are going to be hosting these games, they want Messi in as long as possible to get those ratings up. So that'll be good. Yeah.
Cap in the house, great friend of the show, great friend of us. It's my favorite Finns couple. Hey, that draft last night, are we happy? You know, and this is something I mentioned before. In Pat Riley, I trust, right? Him,
always.
Adam Simon, our scouting department. I had my own opinion of who I potentially like, but those guys went, you know? And maybe that's who they were looking at the time too. So KJ, who I call KJ because that's a long name for me to understand. Yeah.
Kasparas Jakucionis. Come on. Kasparas Jakucionis. Say it with me 3 times.
Cap, I'm good with it. Also, Russ in the house, you're alive. We are.
We're alive.
Russ
we made it.
DM'd me earlier this week, and he said, "You guys alive?" I said, "Alive and well." I said, "But you got that heat. We don't."
We're celebrating. Hey, congrats! Your Eagles did it, and now our Panthers did it. Let's do it again next year, baby.
Yeah. So, Cap, we're good. We're happy. You know, that's all roses and sunflower dandelions here. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
No, but I like the pick, Cap. You know, I always trusted Pat Riley. They did make a roster move with Davion Mitchell. They ended up they have him as a restricted free agent, so he will be able to, if the Heat don't commit to terms with him in the next couple of days here, he can negotiate a contract with other teams, but the Heat have the first right to match that contract. So, you know, I think taking a point guard to if they can't keep Mitchell, or if Mitchell goes down, they got somebody else. And again, Jakucionis is one of the best passers, is known for being a great passer, and so we're set up nicely.
We're good. Capital as well. We're good. Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I did forget one more thing. And one thing that I love talking about that sometimes bores you guys, the Florida. Oh my gosh, Florida. I would say Florida Panthers. The Miami Marlins just took 3 games from the San Francisco Giants. As Marlin fans, this rarely happens, right? We don't sweep teams. Maybe we get 1, take 2 if we're lucky. We just took 3 games at Oracle Park.
Yeah,
amen to that.
And that's never happened. And all, you know, the Marlins have been playing.
They've done it to us, though.
Several times. The Marlins have been playing for 32 years, and they've never swept the Giants at their ballpark. So, hey, you know, look, it's baseball. I understand, and I understand that the Marlins are, you know, bottom part of the South Florida sports scene, especially now with the Panthers, but it's still baseball. And as soon as the Panthers sign their main core right here, there's really nothing to talk about until football starts. So come on, you know, give the Marlins a follow.
All right, little shout out to the Marlins for taking 3 against the Giants.
Yeah, come on. And Agustin Ramirez, your guy, hit 2 home runs today. So go Marlins, go. But more importantly, go Cats, go. They are the 2-time defending champions, looking for 3. And we want to thank our guest, George Richards, for joining us tonight. Great interview. A lot of details that we didn't know. He shared some pretty awesome stories and covering. I had more to ask him, but covering this team where, you know, a lot of people have talked about this on different radio networks and whatnot. Back in the day, the Panthers couldn't give away tickets.
I remember.
Like they would come up with a block or a brick of tickets. Hey, here's 35 tickets. Share them with your friends. They couldn't give it away.
It's not like that anymore.
People didn't want to go. Now,
it's a hot ticket in town.
You got to pay to attend a Panthers game because there's a waiting list. People
to get their merch. Everyone wants that
people
merch.
People are Cats crazy.
People are even adopting cats crazy at the Broward Humane Society. Like, cats are being adopted left and right. So So,
All right.
yeah.
What do you say?
Let's roll.
Let's call it a show. Guys, thanks for
Alright.
joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're watching this on X/Twitter, hop on over to YouTube, like tonight's show, subscribe to the channel, be in the latest for when we have future guests or upcoming announcements, which we will have some as we get closer to football season.
And last but not least, 305 Sports Travel. We have our trips coming up soon. Be sure to go to the website, www.305sportstravel.com. I'll drop that right there.
Yeah.
For Dolphin away games. First one is obviously Buffalo coming up quick. It's coming up quick in September.
Yeah.
We have a great Fins. It's not what's a Buffalo. We thought of a cool name for it. It's a Fins fans together.
Fins Fan Social.
Fins Fan Social in Buffalo at the Draft Room, and then all information about the other trips can be found at 305sportstravel.com.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, you have a good rest of your week, which is almost over. The weekend is almost here, and wishing you guys a great weekend ahead. And until next time, peace.
Night, guys. Thanks so much for joining. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel.